Hello, let's recap Chicago Fire, Season 3, Episode 5, entitled The Nuclear Option. So unlike other episodes, this title isn't really a huge theme in the episode, it's more of a specific line. It's pretty insignificant, but we'll get to that. But the main thing in this episode is about Dawson and her situation with Casey. Because Casey finds out at the beginning of the episode that something's going on with his sister through his niece. And, she's been beat up bad and going through some stuff. And it turns out her sister's having pretty bad marital problems. This is Christine, his sister, who they've kind of had a falling out when their mom went to prison. But then they've kind of patched things up since then. She's having some financial problems. Supposedly her husband is broke and she's having a hard time making ends meet. And their, marriage is suffering because of it. That's what it looks like. But then Casey asked for Dawson's help, and she suggested this guy that her brother Antonio knows, and he did some digging, and it turns out the guy, his brother-in-law, is actually a pretty shady guy, and he works at a company, and he's like laundering money into one account that can only be accessed by his receptionist or something, and they're having an affair. Christine can't get to the money, and he's kind of holding it over her, like she can't leave him or else, she won't be able to survive, and they'll just leave his wife and his daughter with nothing. It's a pretty bad situation. It's complicated to say the least. Casey has to confront his brother-in-law, and he says, hey, we're going to meet at 8 a.m. tomorrow, and we're going to talk, and you have that account ready, and you have all that crap done, or I'll beat you up. He's gonna try to play hardball, but, this is a pretty dangerous game he's playing. He likes to play dangerous games, as we know. But Casey's doing a lot of bad stuff this episode because every time, he has a personal problem, he takes Dawson away from her work, and, he personally supervises her venting on the roof. Clearing floors and going in and rescuing people is what the lieutenant does usually, and everybody else, gets the aerial or gets a hose or assists him with the rescue, but the lieutenant does the main clearing. And making vents and, busting holes in windows is, anyone could do that. You don't need a lieutenant for that, but regardless, he goes on the roof with his girlfriend, who is also his candidate, and things go sour because, she gets stuck and the aerial has to be moved and a lot of crap happens. But, they make it down okay, and he coaches her out of it. So, on one hand, it was pretty good having her fiancé there to support her. On the offhand, he keeps giving her special treatment and, making other people do work that she's supposed to be doing. The guy who's really mad about this is Hermann. One minute he's acting lieutenant, and the next he's, polishing the truck. He talks to Bowden about it, but, he's like, keep it on the DL, you guys just gonna have to find a way to deal with it. And he's like, oh, alright, loud and clear, Chief. Turns out that Dawson was actually testing him, leaving the door open to see if he would close it every time, because, just because of who she is, she's getting special treatment regardless. I'm just like, I can't believe you let me get away with that. This argument comes to a boil between Gabby and Hermann, and finally she says, why don't you just take me off Casey's hand? I'll work under you. And so that was my prediction from the very beginning, is that she would work under Hermann, because he's a lieutenant, so, it would just make more sense, I thought. So I guess I was right, because he says, I'm gonna make a firefighter out of you. So that's pretty patched up. Well, the other thing about Hermann is, the captain's not letting him get any lieutenant jumps, but also his truck is not getting picked up. So the Molly's truck, which Mouch and Cruz have stationed outside the firehouse, is getting a lot of parking tickets. Mouch tries to cover it up with his girlfriend Trudy, but he's actually paying it, so he's just going to keep paying until it's fixed. At the end of the episode, he's like, you know what? Screw it. Hey, Cap. Cap, who's on squad, who we, never hear about. He's a bald guy. He says, Cap, if you can fix Molly's truck, then the guys on Truck 81 will do bathroom cleaning duty for a month, or whatever it is. And Cap's like, done! So, on the plus side, they're gonna get their truck fixed and get it out of there. On the downside, they got bathroom duty. Thanks, Mouch. That was what Mouch called the nuclear option. Also with Cruz, Otis has been driving the truck, and it's been kind of crazy because, Cruz is the truck guy. He knows what to do, he knows how to handle the truck, he knows how to drive the truck, and it's really hard on him not being able to do it. And so when he does a great rescue, he moves the aerial and gets the guy off a balcony when the Hermann who was clearing the floor, he couldn't get to him because of the fire, and so he saved a guy's life just monitoring the aerial, which is usually Otis's job. And so Chief Bowden was like, he needs to be rewarded. And so he pulled some strings and, butted a few heads in order to get his suspension thrown out. So now he's back on driving the truck. And, except for, when Otis's cousins came and his nephews, because he was like, yeah, go ahead, show them the truck. So the last thing is about Sylvie Brett, who is, getting back with her fiance, supposedly. Her fiance wants her to move out of there because it's too dangerous. It's a city, it's a new place, and this is just one of your adventures that you're gonna get bored of, or you're gonna not be able to handle, and you're gonna come crawling back. But Sylvie is actually kind of standing up for herself because a robber breaks into her apartment, and she's there with a bat, and boom, she gets him out of the house, and she calls 911, and she could actually handle herself, which is a really, impressive thing for a girl from a small town. I want to stay here. I'm doing great work on, Ambo 61, and I can handle myself in this big city, and I don't need you. She does not need a man. Which, of course, opens her up to possibly getting into a relationship with one of the guys in the Firehouse. So, story-wise, it makes sense for her to ditch her fiancé. So Casey's got a lot more to deal with. Herman and Gabby are going to be working next week. Cruz is back on truck. Sylvie's going to be staying on at the Firehouse. Let's see what happens next week.